If you're getting into guitar amp modeling, choosing how to amplify your modeler is as big, if not a bigger decision to make than which modeler to use. You can use FRFR systems, you can use in-ear monitoring, and you can do it, I guess, in a way, the old school way, moving air through a guitar cabinet, in which case you would need to use some kind of power amp, in which case you probably wondering, should I use a solid state power amp that's relatively neutral so that I can utilize the power amp modeling in my modeler? That's how I run mine live when I use a cabinet anyway. I'm using the AXFX3 and the power amp modeling sounds great. Or should I go with a tube power amplifier which is going to impart its own character across all the tones and essentially use my modeler as a preamp? So I'm going to compare one solid state power amplifier, the Matrix GT800 effects, to a Mesa Stereo 250 power amp, which is a tube-driven power amp. So obviously there is a whole realm of possibilities across both solid state and tube solutions. In this case, I just want to show you the main difference about how I would go about crafting tones with either of these. First, let's listen to a loop played through the same amp model through each power amp. When I'm using the Matrix, I'm using the power amp modeling in the AXFX3, and I've got it turned off when I am using the Mesa. I'm not going to tell you which one is which, see if you can tell the difference. So in that clip, I thought they sounded surprisingly close. One clip has way more of a kind of low-end rumble to it. Let's have a listen to the 59 BASSGUY model, same kind of thing, and in this case you can hear a huge difference. And the difference there is that in one scenario you're hearing heaps of power amp distortion and compression, and in the other the preamp isn't driving the power amp as hard. So it's pretty easy to hear there that the second clip with the BASSGUY, which is power amp A, which was the first clip comparing the C++, is actually the tube power amp, which sounds a lot sort of cleaner and imparts to me less character on the tone than using the accurate built-in power amp modeling for each model using the AXFX3. I thought with the C++ models, the tube power amp worked really, really well. It kept things really tight if you're going for that kind of thing. But having said that, the inbuilt power amp modeling kind of gave it this really cool low-end chunk and thump that the real Mark Series amps would have. Whereas with the Bassman, I mean, there was like no comparison, right? Because we didn't have power amp modeling on with the tube power amp, we just weren't getting that magical thing about a low wattage tube amplifier where it's compressing and it's breaking up. And you can hear that at the end of the clip when I'm playing with dynamics, because there's less compression from the Mesa. You get these really big fluctuations in volume, whereas the AXFX3 power amp modeling just kind of ties it all together in a really musical sense. And that's the reason for me that I went with a solid state power amplifier. You may have much preferred the way the tube power amp sounded, in which case go and get a tube power amp. But the big thing for me is utilizing stuff like in the AXFX3, the supply sag parameter. Let's have a listen to first the Mesa power amp, and then we'll have a listen to the same clip with the supply sag at 1, at 5, and all the way up at 10. And it really changes the feel of the amp more than anything else, and I really like it. So let's hear that clip. Hopefully that feel translates to something that you guys can hear over the medium of YouTube. Obviously, there are a lot of other choices. You can use the built-in power amp in your amp head, for example. If you had like a Marshall head or something like that with a power amp in or an effects return, you can obviously run your modeler straight into that, or you can use it in 4-cable method together with the built-in preamp and swap between the built-in preamp and the modeled preamps, which is another great solution. But for me, if I want to move air through a cabinet, I prefer a flat sounding solid state power amp so that I can use the power amp modeling in my modeler. I really like that. It gives me a lot of variation, and for a live gig anyway, I tend to stick to one amp model, so I'm not kind of going all over the place. If you're doing a gig where you need a bunch of different preamp sounds and you want to keep that power amp sound consistent, maybe a tube power amp is the way to go. So I hope that gives you guys a little bit of guidance and a little bit of insight. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to hit subscribe and tick the little bell, and I will see you guys around next time. Cheers!